Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, paher agle, ni hao, chunishumme, washmale. Oh, hi, Gonzaimas. Guten Morgen. Hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Halishuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba. Buna, mucho gracias, swabia, bhalli kare aaya. Hoş geldin and ayo sayo khuyamura chivatto chi hal jo kali mera khairutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody, and that too on a very rainy Thursday over here in Islamabad. Shukr alhamdulillah. I happen to be Shahzad Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well. But first things first, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajra. Satti. Hello Hajra, assalamu alaikum. Do you feel ecstatic today? Finally some rain.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, for introducing me. And alhamdulillah, it has been, we have received a fine rain in Islamabad, and not just in Islamabad, I think across the country, and it was a much needed respite that we needed. And like we mentioned that weather is always a conversation starter. So weather updates, rain in the parts of the country and more downpour predicted till Friday. Rain occurred in many parts of the country as Met Office predicted more downpour with the snowfalls over the hills till Friday. According to Met Office, rain, wind, thunderstorms with snowfall over the hills is expected in northeastern Balochistan, Punjab, Islamabad, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. Heavy falls, heavy snow is likely at few places in Upper Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Kashmir, while hailstorms may occur at isolated places in the upper and central Punjab and northern Balochistan. Heavy snowfall may cause road closures, slippery conditions in Mari Kalayat, Naran Kaghan and Dir Sawat Kohistan, Mansehra Balochistan, Abbottabad, Shangla, Stor, Hunza, Skardu, Neelam Valley, Bagh, Poonch Valley and Haveli. Possibilities of these landslides and avalanche in the hilly areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan, Kashmir, Mari and Kalayat during the period, and tourists are advised obviously to remain extra cautious in this condition. And again, clubbing this news with another very interesting news that is coming from the Japan. So Japan has also received the heavy snowfall. The weather prefecture blanketed by the heavy snowfall as the cold front sets in. Heavy snow hits Japan as the cold front brought a more wintry weather, and Met Office has also predicted more snow in Japan.
Exactly. So ladies and gentlemen, I think where, because we grew up listening to this, ki Allah jab bhi deta hai, chappad phaad ke deta hai. I think that was needed for all of us. Everybody was falling ill, and certainly, after this, all of this rain, I think that everybody feels, amazing. But not just that, I think continuing with the Japan story, because it was in Niigata, and, parts of which have already been over 10 feet of snow.
Oh my God.
And roads and buildings have blanketed by heavy snow as well. That the Japan Meteorological Agency issued a heavy snow advisory predicting that there will be snow in days to come as well. But while we are over here, I think the talk of the town is ICC Champions Trophy taking place in Pakistan after 28 long years. That Pakistan is actually hosting an ICC event over here. But before, we kind of move on and speak about ICC Champions Trophy, I would want to talk about Pakistan Air Force Sher Dils. Because in a power display of national pride and unwavering commitment, the Pakistan Air Force aerial performance at the ICC Champions Trophy opening match was a resounding tribute to the nation, and those scenes were so amazing to kind of witness. The brave pilots of the Pakistan Air Force extended their salute to the entire nation, painting the skies with the vibrant color of the Pakistani flag, whites and green. The Sher Dils team showcased their exceptional professional skill with the execution of the Spirit Pass and Shaheen break maneuvers. JF-17 Thunder Block 3 and F-16 Fighting Falcons were greeted with enthusiastic applause from the spectators. The JF-17 Thunder aircraft, a symbol of Pakistan ingenuity and a testament to its proven combat capabilities in international exercises, was the highlight of the fly past. But while we are here, I think we need to even speak about what actually happened or what's going to happen today. First, let's do that, and then we'll come back towards what happened yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be India versus Bangladesh today, in the contest in Dubai. And Bangladesh will be facing India today in the second match of the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai. PTV Sports HD will be telecasting the match live from 2 p.m. Both teams placed one-day international with each other. India got victorious in the 32nd one-day internationals, while Bangladesh won 8 matches. One match ended in a draw. So, Bangladesh and India, it's going to be the, the other group where India, no, in fact, it's the same group as well, because Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, And then, yeah, there's one more team in our group as well. But while we are talking about it, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I think what happened, I think we already prepared for this, because imagine that if we are to kind of speak about the Tri-Nation Series, Hajra, in Tri-Nation Series, we actually lost from New Zealand too as well. So New Zealand actually beat Pakistan by 60 runs in the opening match of the ICC Champions Trophy at the National Stadium, Karachi, which is obviously not very reassuring. I mean, Mohammad Rizwan Sahab saying that, you know, we're ready and we're going to give it all and we're going to try our best, and then eventually coming into press conference and saying that, you know, how matters are with everybody, you know, so hum guzara hi karte hain. So, you know, if this is the kind of guzara, I don't think that that's how champions really need to speak. So that's something that I certainly do not like. But to speak on this occasion, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Mr. KASHIF SHABBIR, who happens to be a sports analyst. Hello KASHIF, assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling today?
Alhamdulillah, all well. Thank you very much.
Right, right. And Kashif, now let's kickstart the conversation. Like Shahzad mentioned, the New Zealand storm by 60 runs victory. You know, what happened, what went wrong, and let's analyze the highs and lows of both the cricket teams.
Where to start from? It was a sheer disappointment, because we thought that we have learned something after the Tri-Nation series, and Pakistan will come out to be a different Pakistan team altogether, but nothing changed and nothing happened at all. Initially, I would just like to say that Pakistan is not a team. It is an individual. We are always relying on the individuals. Initially, we were relying on Saim Ayub. He got injured. Then all our reliance came to Fakhr Zaman. He also got injured. Then we thought that Babar Azam might be the one who will rescue Pakistan, but that did not happen as well. Let's start from the bowling. The bowling was not up to the mark. The fast bowlers, they were not bowling on the line. They were not up to the mark. They were not bowling as if they were bowling on their home ground. It was just like an alien wicket. Pakistan were playing somewhere else, not in Pakistan. This is how it all went wrong for Pakistan. Then, you know, all our reliance was on the pacers, because we were going with just one spinner, that was Ibrar. But Ibrar was the one who bowled really brilliantly, and he was the one who was bowling at an economy of around 4.7. But unfortunately, our pacers, they were not up to the mark, and the death bowler, the Haris Rauf, whom we thought he is the specialist of the death bowler, he could not perform as well. So all in all, I think it was the lack of intent, the lack of team performance from Pakistan that went wrong for Pakistan.
But Kashif, not just that. I think where we need to start from is, you know, for Mohammad Rizwan to go outside, winning the toss and then opting to ball first. I mean, if we are to kind of rely on our pace battery, I think what we really need to do is that we really need to take those early wickets. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. And we must keep it in mind that, you know, these are our home conditions. So if in home conditions we let New Zealand thrash 320 for the loss of 5 wickets only, where do you think that our pace battery stands? We need to speak about it. Was it their line? Was it their length? Were they just out of the flow? Was it our field setup? So how would you identify all of this?
I think, Shahzad, everything was wrong for Pakistan. They were not on the line. There was no variation with the bowlers. I mean, if you cannot swing the ball initially, then at least show some variation. And you should be aware of your home conditions. We were not fully 100% aware of our home conditions. That was the problem. If you look at the New Zealand batting, initially they were losing wickets. They were 3 down in the 15th over, but they had a run rate of around 4.5 to 5. So there was some intent, there was some game plan made by the New Zealanders. Then the partnership of Will Young and Tom Latham, that made everything very comfortable for the New Zealanders. So they had some plan in their mind, but unfortunately Pakistan did not have any plan. I think the change of the bowling was not also up to the mark. We did not know where to use which bowler at what time. That was also a confusing part for Pakistan. Then the running between the wicket of the New Zealanders, that also played a key role, because they were accumulating runs and we could not stop those runs flow for New Zealand. Because once you start taking the wicket, and the wicket of, the wicket of Williamson was a price wicket for Pakistan. But then again, the runs did not stop. The flow of runs should have been stopped by the Pakistanis. The field placement was not up to the mark. The players, they were not I think the whole team is not gelled together as it
Right,
should
right.
have been, because this
Obviously,
is.
we've seen that there were weaknesses in our team, but I would also want you to please comment on our batting order, because Khushdal Shah, he was number 7, and he stuck off 69 of 49 after a sluggish start. So do you feel that if we change the batting order, that might produce some sort of results? I don't know, you are the expert in the area. Please comment on that.
No, I don't think so. I think the batting order was reasonably all right, but every player was playing his individual inning. There was no intent shown by any of the player. Look at Babar Azam scoring around 60 odd runs in 90 deliveries. That is not what Babar Azam is supposed to do, because we were chasing a score of around 320. From the outset, we were looking at a run rate of around 6.5. So it should have been a different game altogether. After 15 overs, we could only accumulate around 35 runs. After 20 overs, we were at around 67, and we had lost 3 main key players. I mean, if Salman Ali Agha can play on this wicket, if Khushdil Shah can score at around 150, 160 strike rate, then Babar Azam should have been a better option for Pakistan. Babar
Exactly,
Azam
certainly,
should have
if we
shown
are
some
actually
intent.
going to go
He should
chase
have
320, so Babar, to kind of just strike 64 of 90 of deliveries is something which sounds really criminal to me. I mean, this is not a stage or a platform where you actually can play this slow with a strike rate of below 100.
Shahzad, he was
Now,
playing
in
his
addition to
individual
this,
innings
obviously, there has been a lot of Kashif, I hope that you can hear me. Because now imagine that there has been so much, spoken about Khushdal Shah and how all of a sudden he's in there, and all of a sudden we do know for a fact that, that he actually needs this place. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty. Now, what I would want to speak about is that Pakistan cricket team actually still plays very traditional, conventional sort of cricket, where they're more like, okay, हम 250 कर लेंगे, तो 250 पे फिर हमारी bowling उनको रोक लेगी. Whereas अगर हम, if you have to kind of look over, the rest of the, countries, the way that they play cricket, may it be England with baseball, may it be Australia, New Zealand or India, what they do is that, there's pace in their cricket. Yeah. Now there was no runner ball. There was nobody who was actually kind of in the intent to kind of play with a strike rate of 150 or 160. If it was that difficult, 140. Don't you think that we have been unable to play modern day cricket?
Shahzad, it is all about, I would say, intent. What is the intent of the player? Secondly, as I said, that all power players, they were playing their individual innings. They had their own individual targets in their mind, and that is what they were chasing. Babar Azam wanted to just score 50 runs because he wanted to show the world that he can still be an opener, he can still play some innings. And I think what we have heard in the media, that the role of Babar Azam was just to stay there, just to block and just to stay till the end. And this is exactly what he was doing. So I think this is not the modern era cricket. Now the cricket has altogether changed. Initially 230, 240 was supposed to be a par total, but now that par total has gone up to 330, 340. And if you want to score 330, 320, you have to start with around 5 or 6 run rate. Initial first 10 overs or first power play is always very important, is a key role for all the teams. True. And we could not utilize that power play. And that power play.
Kashif, in addition to this, I think there's one more aspect to it, because we do not play runner ball. That's something that has been missing. Because imagine that cricket starts from a single run, right? And those singles are being converted into doubles, then triples as well, and then you go for boundaries. Now imagine that if we have lost so many wickets and there's Haris Rauf, obviously we cannot ask Haris Rauf or Naseem Shah to kind of play the role of what Fakhar Zaman does. But imagine that if you still have some overs to yourself, you will actually try to make sure कि यार अगर 2 छक्के लग गए तो अब मैं ऐसा करता हूँ कि मैं 2 सिंगल बना लेता हूँ, मैं भाग के डबल बना लेता हूँ. There was no concept of singles and doubles, and that was something that was so shocking for us, that what's the kind of cricket that we are playing?
Shahzad, this all comes with the game plan. What is your game plan? And we did not have any game plan. After 20 overs, we were at around 67 and we lost 3 important wickets. So in my opinion, the game was over after 20 overs, because in last 30 overs, you cannot score 250, 260 runs with seven players coming in. So I think that was the main factor why Pakistan lost the match. And Salman Ali Agha and Khushdil Shah, they tried their best to score the runs. But the gap was too big. And if you are chasing 330, you cannot score those 330 runs with just one end playing and the other end blocking. That was the main reason. Babar Azam did not show any intent. He was not in the pursuit of the target. And only one end scoring runs, it is not possible. So I think if this is the situation of Pakistan, it is going to be a complete disaster for the Pakistan in this Champions Trophy.
Right. And Kashif, okay, so we have analyzed the shortcomings of Pakistani cricket team, and I think Shahzad spoke very, very passionately, and I could see, the emotions that were coming out because he's really invested into the cricket. So now also analyze the performance of the New Zealand, and we have seen that Will Young, he struck 107, and Tom Latham, he smashed unbeaten 118 and helped start a sluggish start. So, by judging the performance of the New Zealand cricket team, which team do you think is your favorite, the team to win or is clinched to, slated to clinch this title?
Well, that's a difficult question. Let's see.
I think it is too early to predict the team who will win this Champions Trophy or who will win this group. We still have to see what the performance of other teams will be like. But I think coming back to the New Zealand side, the combination is absolutely right. They have the right combination. They are not relying on single player. Their reliance is on the complete unit. And we have seen in the last match, Williamson, he was out on I think 1 or 2, but still they managed to score at around 320 runs. Philip, every individual player know what his point of view is, what is his place in the team and what is his responsibility. And this is exactly what they have done. If Devon Convoy cannot score run, Will Young will. If Williamson cannot score run, Tom Latham will. And look at Phillips. He comes at a place where everything is set for him, and he scores at around 150, 160 strike rate and take his team to around a total of 320. I think it is all about team combination. It is all about game plan. What is your game plan, and then exactly what they have done.
Exactly. And very quickly towards the end, one last question, Kashif, and that is that, where you actually spoke about it in the middle somewhere, and, I cannot let that point go away because I would want to kind of come back and speak about captaincy. Now, imagine where you do know for a fact that, if a right arm spinner can actually be put in place, things could have been very different, but we still continued with Khoshtil. Don't you think that the captaincy really needs to be top notch? And if not, there's so much of staff sitting outside, so many experienced players sitting outside, somebody can send in a message that what are you doing? You really need to make this change now.
Rizwan, you are right, but for that you need to have some grey matter, and not only for the captain but for the people sitting outside as well. I think it is all about the performance of the individuals. The bowling changes was not up to the mark. Maybe Khushdil Shah or Salman Ali Agha should have been used more instead of Haris Rauf or Haris Rauf. I think the problem of Pakistan is that they are not sure that whom should they rely on, whether they should be relying on the pacers or on the spinners. Salman Ali Agha, he just bowled 3 overs and he had an economy of around 5.
Thank you so much, Kashif, for being here, for shedding the light on the cricket. And once again, we hope and pray that Pakistan learns from its shortcomings, from its fallacies.
It's been too long we've been saying that.
And we are saying that from the position of hope. But I think realistically speaking, Shahzad is better able to comment that we are nowhere. But now we are going to move on.
Now we are going to head out towards a short break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Right, and welcome back. And today it happens to be the World Day of the Social Justice. It is being observed today to promote global efforts for social justice, equality, solidarity, proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 2007 and first observed in 2009. It aims to combat unemployment, social exclusion and poverty. And the UN emphasizes that social development and justice are essential for the global peace and security, which in turn depend upon the respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. And obviously, this is the day that we need to observe because we see there's a lot of insecurities and inequalities across the world.
Exactly. And in addition to this, ladies and gentlemen, where I've always spoken about the Rice Export Association of Pakistan and TDAB, the traders, Association of Pakistan. Imagine that the collective efforts, in addition with the government of Pakistan, Pakistan has secured ownership rights over basmati rice in New Zealand and Australia, strengthening its global market position in the European Union remains a contested ground, but sources suggest a likely ruling in Pakistan's favor. This development boosts Pakistan's rice exports and reinforces its status as a leading basmati producer. The recognition ensures greater market access and economic benefits for Pakistan's rice industry on the global stage. Wow, so we had $4 billion of rice exports this previous years.
Right.
I just hope that, that our IT export actually exceeds our rice exports, because they were at $3.5 billion. But it's great to kind of hear that Pakistan is doing so well, may it be the basmati rice front or may it be the IT front.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now we are going to move on to another very interesting topic, and that is a new book is in the town, and the title of the book is ISLAMESQUE, the Forgotten Craftsmen Who Built Europe's Medieval Monuments. And it's a very interesting book because it talks about the Europe's third legacy, that is Islam, and how Islam contributed towards the Europe after Christianity and Judaism that we say. We're going to talk about it, and we are going to move on to this particular segment. So without any further ado,
but right now I think what we really need to kind of do is let's just get done with how allopathy and homeopathy actually comes in contrast, because whenever we are to kind of speak about homeopathy, ladies and gentlemen, there's so many questions, there's so many myths which we really need to bust. And if we are to kind of speak about it, we're really lucky, because with homeopathic I've seen that how their kidney stones, my father actually used homeopathic medicine and it actually helped him get rid of his kidney stone. So homeopathic has been there for years and years and hundreds of years as well. And to kind of speak about it, we're really lucky that we've actually been joined with somebody who happens to be the ex-principal of Gandhara Homeopathic Medical College and editor of International Homeopathic Journal, Islamabad. Ladies and gentlemen, we are really lucky that we've actually been joined by Dr. Banaras Khan. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Walaikum salam, sir. Thank you for inviting me at your program.
Sir, thank you so much for joining us. It's so wonderful to have you over here, sir. Homeopathy ke baare mein, there's this one thing which they say ke खा लो तो भी कोई फर्क नहीं, ना खाओ तो भी कोई फर्क नहीं, मीठी गोली है. So this is how we say it. Yeah. So let's get started with you. So please explain to us.
We start from this very interesting slogan, and in fact, it goes towards betterment of homeopathy. That people, they are scared of side effects of other system of therapeutic.
Yep.
And for our system, for homeopathy, they believe that if it does not benefit you, it will not harm you.
Yeah.
But in fact, this is not, in a real sense, this is not true.
Okay.
It benefits you, and with that, it has got no known side effects.
Wow.
Yeah, it is very safe, very gentle, and very rapid system of therapeutics.
I mean, I'm not sure whether I'm going to agree with rapid or not, but obviously it's safe. That's one thing that we know for sure. We have never ever seen somebody who was on homeopathic medicine would have any side effects, or unfortunately, any other problems to them as well. But sir, while we're at it, why don't you, because you've been, the ex-principal of Gandhara Homeopathic Medical College, why don't you explain to us how homeopathic actually medicine works on a human body?
Yes, this is a question which has been asked for the last 2.5 centuries, till it began.
Yeah.
I shall explain you.
Sure.
It is upon philosophic point of view. Our medicines, first of all, they are not in crude form, they are not in molecular level. So we are blamed that homeopathy is just a placebo effect. Why? Because when our medicines are tested in lab, they find nothing in it. So this is very interesting.
Yeah, this is koi shay nahi.
But they work.
Yeah, they do.
These allopathic medicines, they are in crude form, they are in molecular form, and they are tested at any time. But our medicine, the medicinal substance from which they are made, they are diluted in such a high level that practically no molecule is left in it.
Okay.
Then what is left in it?
So then what's the point of diluting it so much?
What is that which works?
True.
We believe that this is the energy, or we call it the memory of the molecule is left, which communicates with our energy level. You see, in a real sense, homeopathic medicines are energy medicines.
Okay.
So, in our body, there is a power. Apart from our this physical body, there is a power, we call it the vital force, which animates. Otherwise, this is just mitti ka bana hua boat hai.
Yeah.
So, we believe that disease is on dynamic level.
Okay.
So, to communicate with disease or to fight with the disease, the medicine should be also on dynamic level.
Okay.
So, when we dilute our medicinal substance, they become on energy level, and energy communicates to energy and it works.
Wow. I mean,
Right.
so basically, Dr. Saab needs to have a lot of shifa in his hand, you know, before actually giving out this medicine, because it's energy. And we do believe in energy, sir. You know, and it certainly does work. It's not that it does not. But let's come down to how so many hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars being, you know, invested in allopathy medicine. And there's so much research which has been done, and you know how it is so effective and impactful that in 5-6 days it will get you rid of your symptoms. I'm not saying that it will get you rid of your disease. Now imagine if you are to come down to homeopathic, what we see is that it's more herbal, you know, it's more on a very natural level, and that's exactly why we do not have the same results as we have with allopathy. So is it because that we are so used to of allopathy now, or because, you know, I think, and I can be wrong with that, Dr. Saab, don't take me wrong, but most of the time if we do not get the right treatment in allopathy, that's the only time that we look at homeopathy.
See, this is very unfortunate that people visit us when they are discouraged from all other system medicine.
True.
When the disease becomes in advanced stages, in terminal stages, let me say, and then they come to homeopath and ask, do you have a treatment for this?
True.
What I want to convey the message to the public is, you know, each disease has a certain stages.
Yeah.
Stage 1, 2, 3, etc. you call it. So, as early a patient visits to a homeopath, no problem, whatever disease it is, you may call it even cancer, there is a proper treatment and cure for it.
Okay.
But as long the disease progresses, it becomes into chronic stage, it becomes into advanced stage, into terminal stage, then the cure is very difficult, or you may say incurable even. So, this is
Exactly.
Right. And Dr. Saab, one last question before we wrap up our segment, and that is, I want you to quickly explain us to this assertion that homeopathy is against the surgery, right? Why is it so?
This is also, I would say, another misconception. Okay. Homeopathy is not against surgery,
okay,
but it is against undue surgery, unwanted surgery. Take an example of, as Mr. Shahbaz said, that his father was treated by kidney stone.
Yes.
So, surgery, like every day, you know, children have got tonsils,
true,
adenoids, ladies, different kind of cysts and fibroids. They can properly be treated with homeopathic treatment.
okay, okay.
And when there are some cases where surgery becomes unavoidable, one should proceed for surgery.
True.
Right.
No objection to me.
And thank you so much, sir, for saying that as well,
Thank you
because
so
you know
much.
I myself was trying to take homeopathic medicine for my backaches,
Okay.
and there was a time when the homeopathic doctor himself actually said that you need surgery now. So it's a myth, you know, because most of the time we do not go. But I think what is suggested is that if you're going to an allopathic doctor and taking those medicines, and if you're going to a homeopathy, continue with both of them.
Right.
You know, there might be a solution
Right.
for that as well, and I
Right.
think that can work. But thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you so
Banaras,
much.
for
Thank
being
you
with
so
us.
much.
Lovely to be in conversation. You want to say something?
Yeah, thank you so much again. And I have conveyed my message to the public, and let us hope for the best.
Right,
Exactly.
and thank you so much for sharing your words. And now we will move on to very interesting news.
Yeah, it's very rare.
Yeah. So Shahzad, why don't you take the lead? And,
Exactly. So imagine, you know, I have never heard the name of this fish as well before. So a rare oarfish was spotted in Baja, California. It's a beach, leaving many beachgoers astonished as live sightings are extremely rare. Known as the doomsday fish, the sighting sparked concerns due to its association with disaster in Japanese folklore. The fish is thought to be a warning from the deep. In 2024, 3 dead oarfish were found in Southern California, adding to fears of potential seismic activity following this rare event. Wow, just look at the fish. It just looks, it does not even look like a fish.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting fish, and more looks like a snake, right?
Yeah.
Because whenever we talk about these sort of fish, and I think Shahzad and I, we've grown up in an environment where we're not very familiar with these fish names, right? It's such a unfortunate
I think
thing,
the only
right?
names we knew, I mean, I don't know if
Salmon, and because we're eating that fish, right?
Salmon, rahu.
Rahu and something like that.
Yeah, the one we get in the northern areas of Pakistan, what do you call it?
Trout and all of these fish, and whale and shark and dolphins, and these are the fish. But now, like I mentioned before, so there's a very interesting book which talks about the ISLAMESQUE, how Islam contributed to the European heritage, to European cultural history. And the book's name is ISLAMESQUE, the Forgotten Craftsmen Who Built Europe's Medieval Monuments. And we've seen that Islam have always contributed towards the Europe, but somehow it's not talked enough about. So why is it the case? And we have a brilliant author, Diana Darke, who has ventured into this particular field, and she's explained that how European Muslims particularly have contributed towards Islam or Europe's cultural heritage. So in order to unfold this conversation, we are very glad that we have been joined by Diana Darke. Welcome to our show, Diana, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Right. So, Diana, let's unfold this conversation. What are the common themes of this book, and why did you decided to go about it and research about it? Because I've read your books before, and there are, I found one common theme, that is that the Europe's third legacy, which is the Islam, that is, you are focusing a lot on them. So, why this interest?
Yes, well, actually, it all began with the fire at Notre Dame. When back in April 2019, Notre Dame caught fire, and the reaction of the world was all, the French national identity going up in flames, the outrage everywhere. And I just thought, wait a minute, don't people realize that most of the elements in this wonderful cathedral, Notre Dame, which is Gothic architecture, have all come in from the Islamic world? And because that knowledge seemed to have been lost, that's why I decided to write my first book, Stealing from the Saracens, which is looking at the Islamic backstory of Gothic architecture. And that has led organically into the kind of sister volume, ISLAMESQUE, which is looking at the Islamic backstory of Romanesque architecture. So going back even earlier, to look at not just how the actual styles came across, but also how the actual craftsmen involved in building these European cathedrals can be shown to be schooled in the Islamic world, is the way I phrase it. They're not necessarily Muslim, but they're schooled in the Islamic traditions.
Right, and Diana, you've coined a very interesting name, ISLAMESQUE. And according to my research, you've coined this name as a more of a counterpart to the Romanesque, right? Why did you decide to come upon this name? And why do you think that the Europe's third legacy, Islam, is so forgotten? Is it a deliberate effort, or it's just a forgotten history, not a very deliberate act?
Yes, well, I mean, the thing is, the language of European art historians is to talk about this wonderful style that burst out across Europe around the year 1100, and they call it Romanesque because they're calling it a kind of revival of Rome. But when you look closely at the buildings, and the buildings are the evidence themselves, you can trace all the features, the pointed arches, the vaulting, all the decorative styles. Actually, you can show that they all entered Europe via the Islamic world. So this is why the term Islamesque is a word I made up in direct challenge to the word Romanesque. And what I hope is that the word Islamesque will enter the English language now as the more accurate description of this pan-European style of architecture.
Right, Mr. Anna, you are consistently focusing that this architecture was developed by Muslims, and you mentioned Notre Dame, you mentioned Pisa Tower, and these are the very important European heritage. But what is, the evidence that led you to believe that, actually Muslims contributed, or Muslim civilization contributed towards the building of these cathedrals? What were some of the artifacts that led you to believe, how are you going to prove that to some European?
Well, there are some concrete evidences, and I trace all of this very carefully in the book. I present all the evidence, but one of the key incontrovertible things is actually the use of Arabic numerals in roof timbers, for example, in Salisbury Cathedral, and on stone sculpture on Wells Cathedral. And this, the use of Arabic numerals there, this was centuries ahead of when it was actually, when Arabic numerals came into general use in Britain. So, and what this reflects is that the only people who had the knowledge of using Arabic numerals at that time were Muslims. And of course, these were people who had been living in Muslim Spain for 800 years. The traditions are there, and in Muslim Sicily. And because this was when the Islamic world was at its peak, 200 years ahead of anything in Europe. So only Muslims at that time, or people schooled in the Islamic tradition, had the knowledge to bring in these new styles of vaulting and all the decorative styles. You can track it all back to buildings in Islamic Spain, in Muslims in Sicily, and back through North Africa to Fatimid Egypt. And this is what I do in the book with many, many illustrations pointing out all the decorative features.
Exactly.
Only the Muslims
So
could.
which is why, Ms. Diana, obviously, thank you so much, first of all, for highlighting that it wasn't just the cross-pollination of the designs, but the people too as well. But where you said, right in the beginning that, it was when I realized that, hey, what, it was the Muslims who actually brought these designs with them. How do you think it is for the Europeans now to realize after you have published this book of yours?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, unfortunately, since 9/11 and, most of the 21st century, a lot of the Western world associates Islam with violence and terrorism. And I personally feel this is very, very unfair because, we're talking here about a tiny, tiny number of extremists, extreme Islamists who are not at all representative of the main body of Islam. So one of my motivations in writing the book is to show that, look, we actually owe the Islamic world a huge debt of gratitude to everything that they brought us, because this style, Romanesque, is actually acknowledged as the springboard of Gothic and then the Renaissance, and so everything that came into Europe. And so it was actually the Islamic world that provided that springboard, and that's what I feel needs to be acknowledged.
Right, and Nan, you've mentioned a very interesting term in your book, and you've talked about how the Arabized Christian, those who were schooled in Islamic tradition, they also contributed towards the many European architectures apart from the Muslim, and that too in the stealing from Saracens. That's a very interesting notion, can you expand on this conversation a little bit?
Yes, exactly. Well, so of course in Islamic Spain and in Muslim Sicily, of course there were Christian populations there as well as Muslims who were part of society very much, but they chose to stay and they were allowed to continue practicing their own religion, but they adopted the Islamic traditions of architecture and the craftsmanship. So they became skilled in, that's why I use this phrase, schooled in the Islamic tradition. They're known as Mozarabs in Islamic Spain. But also it's worth highlighting actually how blended the society was. So in Sicily, for example, you get legal documents where it talks about Roger, who was once Ahmed. And there are villages in Sicily where Christians are called Muhammad. This is back at that period I'm talking about, at the time that the Normans begin to conquer the territory, and the same in Spain. As the Christian rulers come in, it's not a black and white situation. It's very blended, and there was a lot of intermarriage, and so the two Islam and Christianity were sort of side by side a lot, and not all the Christians decided to leave just because, you know. So this is the point. You know, they
Which is, yeah.
Right. And
very well.
Diana, one last question, because this is a very important question, and before we wrap up this segment, and that is that we've seen that there's a dehyphenation of the religion from the politics in the Europe, and that is why people have abandoned the churches, the cathedrals that hold once a very important notion in their national identity. Do you feel the void that is created by the abandoning of the religion is contributing towards the Islamophobia? And because, you know, Muslims, they're not ready to forsake their religion or their mosque, and that is why a lot of people in the Europe, they're blaming the turban people, the Muslims out there. Because of them, they're losing their heritage. Do you think that's the root cause? As a cultural Arabist, I would say, and a cultural historian, do you find this assertion to be correct?
I think there is some truth in that, but I think the blame also lies with our education system. So, I mean, for example, you know, as a European, I was brought up to believe that all civilization was Greece and Rome, and that was the end of it. You know, that was what I grew up believing until I studied Arabic at university, and then for the first time traveled east of Greece. So. I think if the education system would focus more on Muslim Spain, where, as I said, you know, 800 years worth of Islamic rule there and nearly 300 years worth in Sicily, if a lot of Europeans are simply not aware of that because it's not focused on in their education system. So I think that would be a big step forward if the syllabus could change to reflect that cultural debt that we do owe the Islamic world.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Diana, you know, for doing it for all the Muslims of, you know, the world as well. You know, we have a population of 2 billion people out there. But thank you so much for this wonderful book of yours, and we wish you all the best for your future work and for your future endeavors. And I believe that it's for our education system as well that we really need to understand. And thank you so much, Hajra, you know, for coordinating with her and bringing this subject, you know, to life, because I don't think that otherwise, you know, somebody would have actually spoken about it. So thank you so much. Please make sure that you give it a read as well. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, all you need to do is that you need to write to us on worldthismorning@ptv.com.pk. If there's any feedback, if there's anything you would want us to do differently, or if there's any criticism, we would welcome that, and we'll make sure that, you know, that we...
Only healthy criticism, right?
I mean, I don't know if criticism can be healthy or not, but yeah, but please make sure that you whatever you want to share with us. Until next time, look after yourselves. It's raining outside. Have some pakode, have some good wali chai, and it's going to be Ramadan in a few days. So, you know, a lot of pakoras, samosas and rolls are coming your way. Until next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.